thank you so much for us today to have this conversation on sharing your experience on the apprenticeships.
Yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity because apprenticeship has helped our company in a big way.
Fantastic. So I think that's something which we want to definitely hear about from you, that how it has helped you. But before we get on to that, we would love to hear that what prompted an organization like yours to get started with apprenticeship, and for how long have you been doing apprenticeships?
Okay, so let me first tell about SKF, Pune factory, which is the largest factory of SKF, and predominantly this being almost a 55-year-old factory, we had a workforce which has started retiring. So an average of around 40 to 45 of our permanent employees are retiring every year, which is a highly skilled workforce. And we make bearings, and you know it's a precision product, and therefore skill is extremely important for us. Now, and this retirements have started spiking from 2014-15. And we were looking around for a model to build in a succession pipeline for our workforce. Because on one hand, it is true that we wanted to have flexibility, but on the other hand, we needed to have a succession plan for all these operators who are retiring. So we could not go out into the market and pick operators from somewhere else, because ours is not what the nature of job is not something that everybody is doing. So picking out somebody from other place would not have helped. So that is when we were stuck around 2014, and then we started this apprenticeship model with a very clear understanding that this will be the succession pipeline for our future workforce. So it is not that we got into this model just for reducing our cost or focusing on flexibility alone. Of course, flexibility was always on the top of the mind, because in today's market scenario, you cannot run an operation with 100% permanent employees, because the market goes up and down. So in that kind of a scenario, we needed apprentices who could help the operations to be flexible. And that is where this whole thought set in. And if I remember correctly, we started off in the year 2015 with the current model. Prior to that, we had models where we used to take apprentices for a year, but then there was no further scope. Legally, there was no further scope to continue them without creating a legal risk for the company. So they used to go out, and that was where we were always losing skill. So you train somebody for 1 year and then you lose it. So again, you get somebody, again you lose it. So this was going as a vicious circle, and to be frank, the organization was fed up of it. And on the other hand, the trainees also were not seeing a future for themselves. Okay? So it was both ways. So the trainees also didn't have the real motivation, because they come for a year and they go. They don't have anything beyond that as a future for themselves.
So why do you say that they don't have a future? Because after 1 year, would you not absorb them?
We would not, because we were still stuck in the place where retirements were about to start. Okay, and then we could not anyway employ all of them. Okay, because if you look at 14, 15, 16, those are the times when the market was not doing great. Okay, it's only in 17, 18 that the market started picking up. So that was the time when there was a recession in the automotive industry, and we could not do much about hiring these people. And that is where the DEEM model, which the government brought in, started helping. So we can have these people with us for 3 years, groom them, test them out, train them the way we want, and then give them an opportunity to, provided they reach a certain level of skill, to join SKF. And as of today, we have around 130 of them who have joined through this pipeline.
Oh, fantastic. So these are people who have now been graduated to the employee category now.
Yeah, they have got they have become permanent employees of SKF.
And that would be what percentage of your total intake of apprentices?
So this would be around 10 to 12%, because the numbers would have gone much higher this year, because we were planning for a much larger intake. But in the COVID situation, when we have absolutely no visibility of the market, we have just put a stall to that. We are just waiting for this scenario to improve, and then hire these people.
Sure. But do you think that this now, the fact that now you've started absorbing, set up a example for the others, that there's something in for them if they complete their apprenticeship and there's a possibility they will get an employment opportunity with your organization?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Motivate people?
Yeah. And that is the reason, if you look at the overall attrition of the apprentices, it's very low in SKF.
I see.
Because one of the factors for them to qualify for permanency is the attendance. Okay, to become eligible as a permanent employee of SKF, they needed to put in a minimum of 24 days of attendance every month. So that keeps pushing them. And when they started seeing some of their colleagues getting permanent, then of course, seeing is believing.
Great, great. So how have you been executing this model, or what is the model that you follow for training these people?
Yeah, so we have got a very strong internal skill development center. Okay, we call it Kushal. So what happens is that every of these trainees who is recruited by us initially undergoes a 12 days of induction training in our skill center, okay? And which is a combination of classroom as well as on the job or on the machine training. And after that, they are put for 1 month on the job. So technically speaking, it is almost 1.5 months of focused training which is given to them. And during this period, there is a lot of handholding by the supervisors, a lot of handholding by our senior operators who act as mentors. We give a lot of feedback. If we find there are deviations, people may be retrained, and that is how they graduate. And my experience has been there by the end of the 3rd month, they are pretty good in operating our machines at the basic level, and then they start working along with our other operators. And we have got a very good support from the senior operators. So they look at this as one big opportunity to leave a legacy for the company in which they have spent maybe 30-35 years. So they take a lot of ownership of training these youngsters when they come. And of course, the youngsters also look up at them as mentors, and with that respect, the mutual respect and mutual learning, that Guru Shishya concept works here. And we have been strong to drive the right attitudes. So we have had instances where a youngster may not listen to a senior or be arrogant with a senior. We chip in there. We don't allow that to be accepted.
Okay, okay. So tell me, sir, about you said that you have a full-fledged model that you use for training. How do you monitor the progress of these apprentices? How are they progressing in their training? How do you evaluate that? How frequently you do that, and what are the parameters for you to evaluate their performance?
Yeah. So what we do is that at the end of the induction training, there is a written test, okay, and a skill test which is done. So one is a written test which is just to check up as to how much theoretically they have grasped, and then there is the other is the demonstration part. So only if they pass in both of the tests are they allowed to continue with the training further. Okay, so that's the first step. And once they are put on the job, every 3 months there is an evaluation which is done. Okay? Now evaluation will be done on one part is the basic behavior on terms of are they safety conscious, are they adhering to the safety requirements, are they adhering to the basic discipline, do they work in teams. These are the basic behavioral aspects. And on the skill part, we have laid down the expectations from each one on a timeline. That means in the first 3 months, he should reach a particular X level. In the next 3 months, Y level. And the next 3 months, maybe it is Y plus some level. And every 3 months, there is an evaluation which is done on both the aspects, the skill as well as the behavioral part. And this is how every month, every 3 months, there is an appraisal. And after 1 year, after they complete 1 year, by the time they would have reached the expected level, at the end of the first year, then there is a clear evaluation which is done with the manager or the supervisor as to whether he should be continued or not. So looking at all the previous 4 quarters, and then as an overall thing, there is a discussion, and then it is decided, okay, let him continue for the next year. And this is how we track that. And even at the stage of being eligible for permanency. So after he works for 2 years with us, is eligible for permanency. And there is a very clear mandate on what is the expected skill level. We call it as MS3 level that is supposed to be there. So it's a level where it is he is fully skilled on the machines that he is supposed to do, and he's also able to operate multiple machines. So by the end of 2 years, he's supposed to reach that level. Only then he is eligible for it. And at that stage also, there is a physical verification which is done by the skill department. So the training department actually. So we don't leave it to the supervisors at the last, because many times the supervisors having trained these fellows for the 2 years, they always feel that okay, I should help this guy to become a permanent guy. But on the skill part, the test is done by the skill center, and then they become eligible for the interview. And every candidate is interviewed at the factory manager and my level.
Great, great. So very structured and a methodical way of training people. Periodical assessments, evaluation are being done, and that's how you cherry pick the best of the lot and then get them inducted.
And that is the advantage for the organization.
True.
So you get to see the people, you train them, you test them, and then you select them. So what better method?
Yeah.
So you create your own future.
True, true. Now, sir, tell me, sir, 5 years, your organization has been doing apprenticeship thickly into it. But when you would have got started, did you face any challenges? And how did you overcome them in case if you did face any challenges?
Yeah. So one of the challenges that came in was from the union. Okay. So they had some apprehensions about this model. Okay. Well, this was something new in the industry at that particular point of time. And that is where we had to be very transparent with them, explain the complete modalities. And we went to the extent of even saying this will open up doors for your own children, okay, provided they have the expected qualification. So for us, it is very simple that other than an ITI or a diploma, we don't allow anybody to be taken as a trainee in our factories. So that is where, and we said, let's observe this for a year or so. Okay? And then we also explained to them the advantages. The advantage is, the advantage we explained to them is that you guys, the senior ones, are getting older. So we have a retirement age of 60. And by the age of 55, physically there are limitations which come. Okay. We said these youngsters will be as a support for you on the shop floor. So you guys teach them, they will be a support for you. And then it's a win-win situation. And that's how they adopted it. And now they're very thankful for it.
Fantastic. So I think that's the only challenge that you have is the resistance from the union, and now things are settled, or
that's yes, I mean that was only in the initial phase. That was, and it was not a resistance. They didn't stop us or do anything, but discussions, because anything new, of course, will have skeptics around it, and then you have to prove them.
Sure. So, sir, tell me, you said that about 10% of people, 10-12% of people that you're absorbing. What about the dropout rates? Are there dropout rates?
Dropout rates is very low. See, end of the day, everybody has an aspiration to become a permanent employee with a brand like SKF. Okay. So dropout by themselves is very low. We have cases where people are absent for 3 or 4 days. Then we take action on that. Okay. So because there is a culture which, or a behavior which we want to drive in this employee. Because at a trainee level, if you are not regular in your work, you won't do that even when you are a permanent, or rather it will even be worse. So to give that message, we are a bit tough on the attendance.
So what would typically be, anyways, would be your dropout rate? If you were to just...
I'm on 2 to 3%, that's all.
But that's very, very little.
A dropout, you may call it a post dropout.
Okay. So now, again, how many batches have passed out for you? 2, 3?
2.
2 batches. And you said that you have inducted these people into employment.
Yeah.
Is it now that apprenticeship is part of your talent development and hiring strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and having started this, what do you call it, an experiment in Pune, we have also extended it to other factories, because we have understood that this is a proven method. Okay. Though in the other factories, we don't have an opportunity to absorb them immediately because there are hardly any retirements, but then they are used more as the to provide a flexibility to the factory. So whenever there's a ramp up of production, these people help us. When the production goes down, of course, these are the people whom we can put in some other activities other than on the core manufacturing. So that flexibility comes from these people. So that is how that, I mean, on a whole, on a multiple fronts, this method is actually helping.
Okay. So now with a half decade of investment into apprenticeship, what is it that the benefits that you see of apprenticeship? And would you want to highlight some of the quantitative and the qualitative benefits of apprenticeship that your organization has witnessed?
Yeah. So the quantitative advantage is getting people, the kind of skilled people whom you have trained yourself. Okay. So it's your own crop, your own babies, and you have the opportunity to develop them the way you want. So one is on the skill part, the other is on the behavioral part, because we are trying to drive a culture. So when you have people whom you have trained, who have grown with you, it's much easier to drive behaviors and then build a required culture in the organization. And of course, it also leaves a bigger amount of loyalty, because they have grown here and they have learned and they are attached to this organization. They are pretty more loyal than the people we may have got from outside.
Oh, okay. So you have made that comparison, and you see that these people tend to be.
I mean, it's quite natural. I mean, it's out of experience. So we have not had people from outside, but we know if we take 5 people from 5 different organizations, they come with already a certain kind of mindset, certain behaviors which they have learned in those organizations. Then to unfreeze them and get them to acquire new behaviors once they are adults is a tough job. So that's proven anywhere. But in this case, it is a big advantage for us. We do it in-house.
Okay. Sure. So, I mean, you mentioned about the loyalty and engagement part of it you stressed upon, but what do you have to say about, and what's your take on the productivity of these people who get groomed through apprenticeships?
See, like I told, every model will have a certain amount of what do you call a gestation period. Okay? So you cannot expect an apprentice to be there up and running on day one. He's an investment. We have to investment both in terms of money and time on him. But by the end of 3.5, 4 months, provided you have a correct method of training people. I mean, if you get people and just throw them on the shop floor and expect productivity, it's not going to come. Some may learn and they will learn the way they want to learn. But if you really believe that this is going to be the future, which is the philosophy under which we work, we train the people properly, and our shop floor has been able to vouch that by the end of 3 months, they are no less than the senior operators. Of course, they may not be able to handle what you call small troubleshootings on the floor. If there is a complex breakdown which comes, they may not be able to go and do it. But operating the machines at the required productivity levels is guaranteed. Okay. Rather, these youngsters do it much better because they also have a big urge to learn.
I see.
Okay, and that is where we have to really channel the energy to see that, okay, because today's youngsters have a different mindset. I mean, none of them want to just keep doing the same repetitive job all the time. And especially when you have diploma engineers taken, because somewhere or there they are better. I mean, they have a better capability to think and innovate, and that is where we engage them from day one into all our Kaizen activities.
Great.
So even our trainees are open to participate in the Kaizen activities, and many trainees have actually supported with ideas that have what you call systemically removed age-old problems on machines. Okay, something which our engineers were not able to solve. Some guys, smart guys, have come and they have come up with ideas and sorted out problems from the root. So we don't have a challenge on the productivity. Of course, we have to be. See, a youngster is a youngster. So it's important that we, how we engage with them, how our operators, our supervisors talk to them, how our senior operators talk to them. All that motivates.
Absolutely.
We have not had much of indiscipline situations, and to be, I'm very proud to say that in the last 3 years we have introduced girls on the shop floor.
Oh,
First time ever in SKF India.
and that's part. So apprenticeship is part of, I mean, diversity as well, is it?
Yes, yes. So I started this model with around 10 girls 3 years back, and we had the first girl become a permanent SKF employee last year. Okay, and we, as of today, we have got 40 of them on the shop floor, and they are no less than anybody. I mean, I'm so proud to see the smartness with which they go around. They participate in all our, even in the sports activities. We have been able to win what do you call, inter-factory championships because of these girls.
Great, great to
So
hear.
the way we, yeah, so the way we just what do you call, include them into our larger workforce gives them a lot of energy and a lot of attachment. They feel belonging to this place.
Fantastic, sir. Great to hear this. Very, very nice. So now, sir, I mean, you mentioned that they actively participated, taking their suggestions. That has led to a lot of improvement on the floor. A lot of corrections have been done. But is there any specific incident that comes to your mind, which the apprentice would have displayed on the floor, which kind of has left a mark on your memory?
Yeah, I remember a situation when a trainee was able to avert a very major accident. Okay, so he was there in the night shift, and while walking around across a machine, he heard some noises which was abnormal. Instead of, and maybe at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the night, people are, I mean, not in the best of their alertness. Okay, nobody is sleeping, but the alertness level physically is low. But this guy was able to be alert to the abnormal sound. He called the supervisor immediately and stopped the machine. Right? Which, if he had not done, would have led to a major fire in the factory, because some chips had gone into the motor.
I see.
And that was coming in between some rotating parts, and which would have led to a spark. And we have so much of oil which is used on the manufacturing process, and would have easily led to a major fire. So that was one incident, and we really appreciate him. And the managing director called him and met him, and we awarded that. And he is now a permanent employee with us.
Fantastic. Great to hear that. So it seems like apprenticeship has paid off for your organization in the long run.
In a big way, and I've been on our global forums of SKF also very proudly being talking about this model of succession.
Great.
They also had their apprehensions. They said, what about productivity? And they came down to see how actually we train these people and how productivity is not affected. So earlier they had a big doubt about whether it will work or not, but now they are firm believers. We have proven it to them.
Great, sir. So any recommendation for your peers in the industry on apprenticeship?
I would say apprenticeship should not be used as a facade for cost reduction. Okay, it should not be used as a method of exploiting people. So you asked me a question at one point of time. What happens to those people whom we don't make permanent? Many of them go and join other companies because they at least have got the basic skill development happening in a company like SKF. So they value in the market also, because this apprenticeship is all about employability.
True.
Okay, so if not employed in SKF, he will not be anyway on the road, because other companies are happy to pick up these guys, because it's already known how, I mean, in how a structured way we train these guys. And with the behavior and the attitude that we develop, to give an example, when when a competitor set up, a Korean competitor set up its factories close to Pune, we were threatened because they picked up some of our best trainees as supervisors and operators.
Okay.
So I think it speaks for itself. The model speaks for itself.
So you're doing a good job.
Yeah. So my suggestion is, we should not. I mean, organizations should not use this as a short-term means of cost saving or doing things behind the scene. It's about employability. Do it thoroughly. If you can hire people, hire them, but at least train and develop people properly with all the basic respect and the facilities. It pays off, and we do a big. I mean, we contribute to the bigger need of the country also. So the employability is the biggest challenge of the country today.
Absolutely.
And that is why this model, and that is the basic intent of this model.
Absolutely.
And it's a big, what do you call it, social responsibility also that way.
True, true. I think there are great words coming in from your side, and I think it's not just the words; it's the actions actually which speaks a lot what SKF has been doing for apprenticeship. And I think it's definitely comes in because of the culture that you have for learning and for the talent development.
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, your viewpoint, and your experience of apprenticeship. I'm sure the industry is going to learn a lot from this conversation, and I hope they engage with more and more apprenticeship.
And thanks, Sumit. Thanks for giving me an opportunity so that you can now spread the word to others.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all ours. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Sumit.